Welcome to our fifth featured author chat for the 2023 Lamb Summer Reading Challenge. I cannot believe that we are already at the end of this amazing summer event. Tomorrow night, I want to give a quick shout out to what is coming tomorrow night. That will be our grand finale, and I hope that you'll join all five 2023 featured authors, as well as two favorites from previous years. One of them is here with me tonight. And if you have any questions about the challenge or need the link to the category post on Facebook, replay links for past chats, or RSVP links for our finale, or anything else related to the challenge and how it works, just head over to www.joyerancatory.com/summer-reading. And now, I am thrilled to welcome my sweet friend Rachael Ritchey, author of the Chronicles of the 12 Realms fantasy series, and my cover designer and formatter, who is amazing, award-winning, and super talented. Welcome, Rachael, and thank you for agreeing to come and interview me tonight.
Oh, well, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to ask you some of these questions because, like I told you earlier, there's some stuff I've never asked you in here, and I would love to know the answers.
Yay! I'm so excited.
Me too.
So just to let you guys know, we have a weekly winner, right? And I am actually going to let whoever wins this week choose which of my books they want. So Any Good Thing I've kind of been featuring this summer, but Every Good Thing is my newest one that's out. And of course there's This Good Thing, my sweet little baby, little itty bitty baby.
So they're all good.
Oh, thank you. So that will be the winner's choice. Yes, that is true.
I should have brought a box with me.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry. I do tend to make people cry.
It's true. They're tearjerkers, but in the best possible way.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to you now, and you just ask away.
Awesome. All right. So you've already talked about your 3 books that are so far published. Then you're also published in the Crux anthology with a short story that's fantasy. So you are obviously a very wide-ranging author. And your books go from fantasy to these, which are like a contemporary Southern fiction. And with this one, can you kind of tell us where, with Any Good Thing with this series, kind of where the story came from behind it? Like, is there anything in your own life that inspired things that came out of this book?
So for Any Good Thing, this actually came out of a real life news story. It was a tragedy that happened, and it got me thinking. It got me asking that magical question, what if? What if, it was a situation where a young man hit a child, and it made me think, what if this young man lived in a smaller town? What if he had, and it was an accident. This situation was a complete accident. It was just an unfortunate tragedy. So what if he had a past with substance abuse? And in this small town, everybody knew that. And even though he had worked really hard to get free of that addiction, and that wasn't an issue anymore, everybody blamed him and didn't see it as an accident. And that really is how this entire story snowballed from there, backward and forward, and came out to be Jack's story.
Oh, that's awesome. And the story that you created just off of that one if has so much depth. Jack's character is someone that you feel so connected to and sorry for, but also like you see that he has all this potential and you want to drive him forward, So that's really awesome that that's where that came from. And just imagining the redemption that can come in someone's life, even with such a tragic event. And it's true in real life too. So that's really, I think, what makes it such a tearjerker.
Yeah, it's definitely like you can definitely feel for Jack, and you can see that being a real situation. So
yeah. For sure. Yeah. And I'm imagining with your fantasy writing too, you probably have real life inspiration, at least for maybe character development and stuff like that too.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I don't know. That's just so different. Like, it's so funny to think about the two next to each other. My fiction, my currently published fiction, next to my fantasy and the inspirations. Really, that arose from. It's gonna sound crazy, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I feel like one day I was sitting at my desk. It was very bright and sunshiny outside. My desk is right next to a window, and so the sunlight was all pretty. And it was like these little fairies just sat on my shoulder and started telling me a story. So the stories actually didn't start with Elspeth, who's going to be my main character. They
Okay.
started with the little fairies, and my main character is a fairy shepherdess. And so where I came up with the fairy shepherdess out of the little fairies talking to me, I don't know. They obviously whispered something to me.
I love it. Oh, that's so awesome. So with your books that you're giving away, like from the ones that you've already published, so Any Good Thing, Every Good Thing, and my mind just went blank, This Good Thing. With those three books, the inspiration behind those, can you kind of tell us a little bit more about something that makes those the books that you wanted to publish first?
Well, so that is a good question. With the fantasy, honestly, I swore up and down I would never write fantasy. But like I said, those fairies started talking, and I had this idea, and it kind of scared me because fantasy is big and it's like this whole thing. And when I was deciding what I was going to focus on, I had already started playing around a little bit with the fantasy, but I honestly, Jack's story, when I started asking those what if questions, I started brainstorming, I started writing on a piece of paper, like, well, what if this and what if that? And like, I just kind of started spitballing things. And I just knew, like, this is it. Jack's story is the one, this is where I'm starting. And when I started though, I intended for that to be it. It was just going to be that book. There wasn't going to be this whole collection. That all came later.
See how they do that, isn't it?
I know, right?
Well, I absolutely love in Every Good Thing the short stories, like the little hints at any good thing that are in here, and just needing some more in depth about the characters. They all feel real, like people you could really meet in real life, and so these short stories, they kind of feel like home, like small town home. You go and visit, and they're people you want to know.
That
You
makes
want
me feel
them in
so
your
good.
life. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I really do love your books.
Thank you.
Did you always intend then well, you didn't write them as originally as a collection. Did you intend, though, after you wrote Any Good Thing, to turn them into a collection to make sure they were completely cohesive? Or were you just thinking like the same world and like maybe a character, but not writing anything having to do with Jack or Rachel or anybody?
Yeah, I think at first, how it started was with This Good Thing. So as I started writing Any Good Thing, I started to develop the character of Carolina, who in
Mm,
Any Good Thing is not with us anymore. She had already
right.
passed away. She was Rachel's mom,
Yes.
another character in the story. And so as I was writing, and actually, I'm not gonna give away any spoilers or anything, but um, the end to Any Good Thing was going to be completely different. And
Okay.
her influence is what changed the ending and made it, and I'm so thankful. Like it's the ending that it should be.
So were you
And it
kind of
really
writing
was
them
her.
back to back, or did you write
No,
This Good Thing, those like her letters, like up front, and then that?
no, I didn't. That
Okay.
came later. So as I was writing Jack's story, um, I had the idea of the letters, and her letters to Rachel really did become such
Yeah.
an integral part of Any Good Thing. And that's really it snowballed from that. Once I knew that she had
Oh.
written the letters, I was like, oh no, we have to tell her story. So
Well, I
that's where
imagine.
This Good Thing came from. And then
Okay.
as I can't remember exactly at what point, but I just fell in love with all the characters. So I love hearing that you
Sure.
love the characters in Every Good
Yes.
Thing, that each have their own short stories, because I
Mhm.
so fell in love with these secondary characters, and I just wanted to tell
Yeah.
more. I wanted their stories to be told.
Yes.
So that's what Every Good Thing became. And then one good thing, which will be the final one that'll come out next spring. I'm so excited.
Yay!
It's going to be it's Jack's letters to someone. No spoilers. And another character's journal entries at the same time. And so it's going to be a lot of what Any Good Thing is, but you're actually getting it in the characters' voices,
Oh,
which
that's
I think is
exciting.
exciting. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to read it.
I know.
And I forgot to mention your nonfiction book too. So you're
yes,
just all over
Finders
the
Keepers.
place with your writing. Yeah. Sorry, it just caught my eye behind you, and I went, "Oh no, I didn't talk about that one either." Yeah. So you've got a great repertoire of books and genres to choose from. So if some now, is it only your Any Good Thing series that is your giveaway books, or?
Yeah, I'm focusing on that this week. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So everyone, you can buy the other books, and I recommend that you do. For
Please
sure.
do. And the crux, I love this. This is what I get so excited about. I love telling people, and they usually are as excited about it as I am when I tell them. The proceeds from the Crux anthology goes to Compassion International, and that is fantastic. And that is, Rachel set this up. She set up this wonderful short story competition a few years ago, and this was her brainchild, and it is 16 fantastic fantasy and sci-fi stories from 16 different authors, and I love it.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's eclectic.
Yes.
So every story is very different, but they're all inspired by the cover image on the book, which is really cool. And then, the proceeds, I make sure that we set those aside and they get sent to Compassion International. I usually send more than what we make, but that's okay. It's totally worth it. But selling more books would not be a bad thing.
Yes, exactly.
We would love to donate more.
Absolutely. I know, and it was so funny. Like, I actually, at one of the places where I sold earlier this spring, that was like, I sold out of my copies of The Crux.
Oh, that's awesome.
Immediately.
That's so cool. I love it. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. That's very cool. And I'm very happy for all the authors involved too. Yeah. Just to get back on track, since I got us off track. So with Any Good Thing, with this series, with your Carolina's Legacy series, you call your books Southern fiction with Christian roots. What does that mean to you?
So, and before I answer that, though, I forgot to say something earlier. You actually are the reason that it's called Carolina's Legacy Collection. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
I was trying to figure out, because it's not a series, like not in like the traditional sense. Like it's not a book 1, book 2, book 3 necessarily.
I do remember we talked about that.
Yeah. So I was like, it's a collection. And then I was like, well, what can I call it? And I can't remember if, I think that you're the one that came up with the legacy thing, which is perfect because that is a huge theme throughout all of the books. Because it really is Carolina's legacy is what snowballed all of this,
Right.
And so you helped so much in naming that.
That's so cool. Well, thank you. I did not know that. Or I didn't remember it anyway.
So to answer your question, since I had to throw that in there because I forgot earlier.
That's great.
People would often ask me what kind of books I write, and I would give a variety of answers because the Good Things books actually fit into several genres. Like you can call it contemporary. Some of them though are more like historical. They're Southern, literary. I mean, all these different things. Rural, you could even go with that. So finally one day I was thinking about the best way to describe the collection as a whole. And that phrase, Southern fiction with Christian roots, just bubbled up from somewhere. I'm going to say Jesus. And I thought, that fits perfectly. So
it does.
And honestly, ever since I've been saying that, like before I would say whatever, like I would kind of sum up the situation. I would look at the person who was asking me and try to figure out what would they relate best to, like what's going to make the most sense to them. And I just kind of would pick and choose. But ever since I've started saying that, it's like, it's a much better reaction.
Oh, I'm sure. Because it tells you that it's got a Southern location, that it's fiction. And that with that Christian roots, that means that it's got that full Southern lifestyle, like moral compass of a Christian life sort of idea in the books. And that would really help people to hone in, like, what can I expect if I pick this book up? And they're not going to be disappointed because that's what they're going to get. All that. So yeah, no, that's great. So inside of the books, talking about it being Christian roots, people are probably thinking fluffy, sweet, nice, but your book is not. It is not that. I mean, those elements are in there, but it is pretty gritty. I mean, you've got some hard stuff going on in there. There's PTSD, depression, suicide, trafficking, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, cancer, war, fighting in wars, like all of that kind of stuff. And why did you want to pull in all these heavy topics?
So, and I get that question often, and unfortunately, these are the realities of life on our broken earth, and these are the burdens that we bear. Humans bear these burdens, and some Christian fiction does shy away from the darkness around us, and I think that they miss out though on the opportunity to. I can't speak on the opportunity to showcase God's light on those situations. Other times, I feel like if they do touch on those topics, they kind of simplify the issues, and characters kind of rapidly make life altering changes that really don't fit reality.
Right.
So when I was writing Jack's character, because he's coming out of addiction, he's dealing with a whole lot of stuff. I prayerfully wrote his journey because I know that PTSD, depression, suicidal tendencies, these things, they don't vanish overnight.
Right.
Even for Christians, right? They
Yep.
are a lifelong struggle. And those battles are ones that most often continue to rage even when a person comes to Christ. And I wanted to reflect that. I wanted to really reflect the reality of these things that, these burdens that we bear.
Right. Oh, that's so great. And I think that you handled them with a lot of grace and like you didn't gloss over anything, but you also didn't like pound it in our face, give us every nitty gritty detail of what it would be like to be in that. But it was enough that for someone like me, it broke my heart like over and over again. And you don't say that about very much fiction, like that it really touches your soul. But like I said, your characters feel very real and their situations are real. And I think you did a great job of covering those topics. So why do you write? Why is that important to you to tell these stories?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, or I guess I should say at the beginning of the day, when I started this journey, I I really just realized that I couldn't not write. Like, it's just always been part of me. I love to write, and it was just a situation where I had no more excuses. Like, I had to write, and I had to write stories. Um, and I think that identifying and expressing our reason why for whatever it is that we do in life is extremely important because it gives us focus and it carries us on the tough days. And
Yeah.
honestly, as a tiny indie author bobbing about in a dinghy in an ocean of authors and books, many of which are on yachts, there are a lot of tough days. So I actually wrote out my reason why, and I have it on a vision board. Actually, it's above my computer right here. I'm looking at it. And it says, I write from my heart to tell hope filled tales of the soul that inspire people of all ages and to leave a literary legacy for my family and future generations of readers. And that is my reason why.
That's awesome. And it's great that you have written that above your desk where you can look at it daily. Sometimes, you think if I look at something too much, I won't notice it anymore. But I think that you're right. When you need something to help refocus your brain and not to be like down in the dumps, having that thing that you can look at and say, nope, I thought that then and I think it now. That really can help spur you on to continue doing what you're doing, especially something that you love as much as writing. And doing it in a way that does leave a legacy for your family and for your readers, which is awesome. And I'm sure these books will get passed down and read, and people will look back and be like, wow, was it really like that in that era? And they'll be able to see some real life stuff in there. So it'll
Right.
be very good. So, what writing projects are you currently working on?
Oh, so right now, speaking of one good thing, beta readers are wrapping up their read-throughs on that and getting their feedback to me, which means that I'll be diving into the final revisions and edits on that soon.
Yay!
Couple more rounds of edits, and then I'm going to be shipping it off to a certain someone, my fabulous formatter.
I'm excited.
No, I can't wait. But I've also got a couple of other projects going on. I'm working on pulling together some of my fantasy short stories to create a special collection that I'm going to use as a gift for newsletter subscribers.
Perfect.
And then this past week, this was a total surprise. I actually got to pull up and work on my collection of animal short stories that I started last fall. They're stories that are kind of in the vein of Reader's Digest Animal Tales, if y'all are familiar with that.
Okay.
They're true stories crafted with candor, humor, and love, and they focus on grief, faith, hope, and love. So that's kind of what that
Very
is.
cool. Well, I can't wait to see those too.
I know. I'm so excited. That's my surprise bonus book baby that just happened.
Surprise. I love it. And you've got I love in your newsletters when you have at the end, I forget what you call it, but your
Furry
cat,
friends.
dog,
Yes.
furry friends. Yes, their little conversations. Those are funny.
I know. I feel like people, like, if they subscribe to my newsletter, they just need to scroll down to that because that's probably the best part of everything.
There's always good news in your newsletters, so I'm glad I'm subscribed. It's awesome. Also, your nonfiction, you have another one coming out with that too. You and May are working on that as well.
Yes.
How's
We're
that one
working on
going?
a workbook. It's a little bit stalled at the moment, but I mean, we got very far. That was our podcast season last year, was to work on the workbook, and we really are like right there. It's just like we have a
Yeah,
couple of things that have to get done, and then next steps.
it'll happen.
It will eventually.
Yeah, and that's the workbook companion to Finders Keepers.
Yes, it is. So, and hopefully, we've been talking about doing an audiobook with that as well. Like, there are so many things that we have in varying stages of the process. You actually have already done the cover for us for the audiobook. So we even have the cover for it. Like, we just have to actually record it. So
You can
all
do
these
it.
things. I know, we could do it.
I mean, the stack of things that you're doing right now is growing. It's getting taller.
It's like people talk about their to be read piles and they're gonna like fall over and kill them in the middle of the night. Like, my like to be written piles are just gonna
Yes, exactly. You'll have one
bury
of
me.
each, like, coming
Yes.
at you.
It'll be an avalanche one day. Oh my goodness.
You'll just throw it all in the air and it'll be fine. So you've been hosting the Summer Reading Challenge for several years now, and I feel like it just keeps growing, which is awesome. What on earth inspired you to start this reading program? I mean, does this go back to when you were a kid at the library, or where did it come from?
Wow, I think I just have always loved summer reading, like the concept of summer reading. And as a kid, I actually didn't get to be very involved with summer reading at my library for whatever
Okay.
reason. And my parents were very supportive of, like, they took me to the libraries all the time. I checked out books all
Yeah.
the time, but for whatever reason, like, that wasn't something that they really let me do. I remember I got to go and I sat in once for one story time during the summer, and I was like, this is the best thing ever.
That's so
I was like
nerdy.
older. I know. I was like older. I was like on the edge of like being too old
Yeah.
for it. But I was like, this is so great. Anyway,
Why aren't
so
we
I've
doing this
always
all the
loved that.
time?
I know. So I think, like, when I started, because when I first started with like an online presence, I didn't have a published book yet. So I was working on that. And I was like, well, what can I bring to people? Like, what do I have to offer? And I was like, well, reading, and that's a common thing, and just summer reading challenge and the book club, like, it all kind of came at the same time. And so this is the 6th year. for this. And I have some pretty
Wow.
big plans for next year that I hope are going to work to bring in even more readers.
Oh, that's
Because I
exciting.
always have such amazing authors, and I want to bring in
Mhm.
more readers for that. So
All
fingers
right.
crossed.
I'm in. I can
Yay!
help. I'm there. Yeah, this
Awesome.
I when I found out about your reading challenge a few years ago, I knew you'd been doing it for a little while beforehand, but every year, like I learn a little bit more about it, and I'm a little bit more involved and a little bit more excited every year, just because every summer I have enjoyed it that I've been able to be a part of, even a little part when I've been able to make it for different challenges and things like that. So every year it just gets better, and I know next year is going to be great.
Thank you. And thank you for being involved with it because that's huge.
It's my pleasure for sure.
Mhm. So
I'm
we've
looking
got
forward to
like,
tomorrow too,
oh, yes,
by
yes,
the
I
way.
know. And I hope everybody shows up and it's going to be so much fun. It is. I'm looking forward to
Yes,
that.
that's
Yay.
going to be great. So tomorrow at 8, right?
At
8
7,
Central? Oh,
7
7
Central.
Central.
Yeah, 7
7
Central.
Central. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, this was 8. Tomorrow's 7.
I
Yes.
know. I was like, I knew that that was going to confuse me. I was like, oh, why am I doing this? Oh, goodness.
So tomorrow at 7 Central.
Yes, tomorrow at 7 Central. So,
Yay.
and we're about out of time. So, um, you guys can find, y'all know where to find me. But I hope that if you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, please go and subscribe to my newsletter, and you will get a Our Good Thing is a short story that I wrote, and it's kind of like a little teaser for Carolina's Legacy Collection. So you'll be able to read that for free, and that'll give you a little taste of what the other books are like, and you can see if you like it.
Yeah, and it's also very good. And I like the cover on that one too.
Yes, it's pretty amazing. It's actually like one of my favorite covers, and I'm like, how can I make this? It's just not big enough to actually print as a book, but I'm gonna figure that one out.
We'll do that. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you for letting me interview you tonight. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was wonderful, and I had a fantastic time with you, as I always do.
Ditto.
Yay. Well, I will see you tomorrow night,
Yep.
and we'll see all of you hopefully tomorrow night.
Bye.
Bye.